Hi guys, my name is Wildcard and welcome back to my channel. There's been a lot of news in the last week about New Zealand Rugby potentially having a deal to sell 15% of its ownership to an American venture capitalist firm for $460 million. And this deal was blocked on the 29th of March 2021 by the New Zealand Rugby Players Association, citing that the Maori and Pacifica culture is not for sale. And this is a pretty big deal for New Zealand Rugby. They are in a bit of financial trouble at the moment. They're losing quite a bit of money, and there's talks that this deal was going to come in and stem the bleeding in the New Zealand Rugby, and going forward would help out with the development of grassroots in New Zealand. So I want to take this opportunity to have a look at exactly how bad New Zealand Rugby's financial situations are, what was the offer for New Zealand Rugby, and what are the options going forward after they've rejected the deal for New Zealand Rugby, and are they really in financial trouble? So let's have a look at all of that, and let's figure out just exactly what financial situation New Zealand Rugby is in right now, just based on evidence, right? So let's go back from the beginning. New Zealand Rugby, as you can see, the jersey that I have, this is a 2004-5 jersey. So the New Zealand Rugby didn't have sponsorship on the jersey. But I think in the 90s, they did have sponsorship. So there's an argument that the black jersey is a piece of culture, and the culture should not be sold. Like, this is not an advertising board. This is a suit that represents New Zealand, represents the spirit of the Maori Pacifica culture, basically. So this is the embodiment of basically the best of the best in New Zealand Rugby. So there's a lot of people against having sponsorship on the jersey to begin with, but New Zealand Rugby is a business, and they need money to invest into the tournaments, to build talent, to pay for the talent, to run the sporting events cost money. So New Zealand Rugby in 2012 went into a sponsorship deal with AIG, and this deal was initially set at $80 million for 5 years, from 2012 to 2016. And then from 2016, the deal was renewed to $120 million over the 5 years. $120 million over the 5 years. Have I got the number here somewhere? Yeah, $120 million over 5 years. And the deal is set to expire at the end of this year, 2021. So New Zealand Rugby are gonna need a new sponsorship in their logo. So this sponsorship, despite people against it, it's very, very important for New Zealand Rugby, because the money, they definitely need the money to build the sport. Like, they are not going to be able to survive without the sponsorship money, basically. So they were, before the pandemic started, they were looking at a potentially $300 million deal with the next sponsor over 5 years. So they're looking at more than doubling the deal that they had with AIG from the previous 5 years. So that would actually give New Zealand Rugby a lot of room to work with when it comes to their finances. So typically, as you can see here, 2019, they lost 7.5 million. Typically, New Zealand Rugby loses money every year because they, as a sport, you wanted to build your next generation, you wanted to build domestic competition. So you're supposed to spend money, and New Zealand Rugby has like a savings account that goes down like every year from development expenses. And then I think the Lions Tour gave them a bit of boost, 30 million profits, so they boosted it up a bit from Lions Tour, and then it's like up to this sponsorship to fill the savings account back up for New Zealand Rugby. So with the current deal, they are losing money a little bit, but with the $300 million deal, that's potentially going to put New Zealand back into the green again. They're going to be gaining money every year from the sponsorship. And having that extra money means that they can actually go and put more money into development, basically. So that's what's happening before the pandemic hit. So if we had so I want to have a look at the income statement. So New Zealand Rugby, before the pandemic, 2019, 2019 was a Rugby World Cup year. They did lose the World Cup, but with the merchandise sales and everything leading up into it, you would suspect that they were making some money, but they actually lost more money than they did in 2018. So 2018 is probably going to be like your typical year in New Zealand Rugby. And as you can see, they actually spend a lot of money in development. So all this money here, like game development, that's your grassroots basically. Teams in black, that's basically also development. That's, like professionals. That's basically money that goes into the All Blacks team, the Silver Firm, the under 20s, the Maori All Blacks. So everything that's related to the black jersey is considered team black. So that's a lot of money. That's basically professionals being paid in that category. Competitions are also development also like local development, because you have your Mitre 10 Cup, your local club games, and then obviously your Super Rugby and your internationals. They're all like money they have to spend in competition. So all of these expenditures are there to help grow New Zealand Rugby. It's not like it's good money. It's not money they should spend, especially with competitions like Mitre 10 Cup. That is a competition that pretty much only the locals would watch. I can't see it in Australia, and that's basically a pro competition with players being paid, like the professional players play in it, and that's like a very small market for very little television rights, very little like income from that. But that competition is pretty much just completely backed by New Zealand Rugby, largely funded by New Zealand Rugby, and that's just money that they spend to grow the sport. So it's something that they do better than everyone else in the world, I would say, to grow the competition. And that in 2019 has ended up in a 7 million loss just from the running the business side of view. Surprisingly, they actually lost a lot of money in 2019 in terms of like financial investments. So cash flow hedges, that's like foreign exchange, I'm guessing. Like they've lost money on foreign exchange, and they've lost money on buying some investments. So they've invested in some stuff. They lost quite a bit of money. So I'm not sure who's looking after this and what is going on here. And then again, this is like foreign exchange, $50 million lost in foreign exchange or whatever in 2018. That's a lot of money. Like that's more money than the operation cost. So yeah, if you wanted to put more money into grassroots, like, if you don't lose this money, you can put under 10 million into grassroots, right? I'm not sure why there's such a huge losses in this front, but yeah, they've lost more money just from financial investments than actual rugby related operations. So that's something for you to look at. I don't know who's managing that. Gotta, get yourself some better bankers, mate. That's probably what I can say. So we end up in a situation like this in the end of 2019. So 2018, they were at 103 million, and this is just after the Lions tour. And then they had 2019. So they had a big boost in for the Lions tour, I think. After the Lions tour. So 2019, they've lost a bit of money from 2018 to down 86 million. And we go to 2020, they lost $30 million last year. And the report hasn't come out yet. This is the only report I can find on the New Zealand Rugby website. So they lost $30 million last year from the pandemic, obviously due to reduced attendance, reduced television rights, reduced merchandise sales, reduced everything. But then your domestic expenditures, like your All Blacks team, Silver Fern, all those people has to be paid. Some of the domestic competition was still running. You still have to pay for those. And then but lower, and then your grassroots might be a bit lower, but you still have to pay that, like most of that, if not all of it. So like a lot of the expenses in terms of New Zealand Rugby has committed to developing their game are still there, but the television and everything is just significantly lower. So $30 million loss. So it's looking like pretty tight. That's looking like they're bleeding out of money very quickly if this doesn't get turned around. So that basically led to a spot So these are basically the financial situation New Zealand's in. The AIG deal is running out. They need to find a new deal. They're losing a lot of money due to the pandemic, just because the rights and everything is lower, and they're in a bit of a desperation spot to get an injection of cash. And this is where the injection cash controversy comes in. This US technology firm, Silver Lake, offered to buy 15% of the New Zealand Rugby for $465 million. Now, this firm, I've done some research, has invested in a lot of sporting teams. They have like a portfolio where they have like Manchester City, a bunch of other teams all over the world. So it's not like this is their business. Their business is looking at teams, basically, when they're in a bit of financial trouble, like New Zealand Rugby is now, and that has potential upside in revenue, and they try to get a hand on the team when the team is cheap. So from a business perspective, what the offer that they made is definitely a low offer. And why I say it's low offer, considering that New Zealand Rugby is looking at 300 million sponsorship, and that's just sponsorship over 5 years. For 450, you can just buy 15% of the team. Seems a lot lower than... It seems pretty low. That is a very low offer. Considering that after you purchase a team, the team can sell the logo for another 300 million. You just like it's... And that 300 million... Yeah, so like... That is pretty low. Like it's 400 for an extra 150 million. You can buy the 15% of the team. That's pretty low in valuation. And also that there's venture companies. This is what they do. This is their business model. This is how they make money. They find the teams when they're down and out and they're desperate for money. They're losing money and they try to come in and buy you for cheap. That's what they do. That's how they make money. And another thing is, once the company comes in, so I've done some research as well. So once these companies that come in, it is in their interest to increase the marketability of the All Blacks team. So like I was mentioning before, the All Blacks having one sponsor in the shirt is already quite controversial, like in New Zealand. With these venture companies, even though they only got a 15% stake, and they're not going to be able to just tell New Zealand Rugby what to do, but they can still slightly influence to try to push for more sponsorship to be put on the jersey, for instance. So they could change things that probably going to anger the fans just because they have an ownership. And to be said, it's not going to be like, you're not going to see, logos all over the All Black jersey as soon as they buy the company. But they are going to be... It is definitely one of their goals to try to lobby for more logos to be put on the jersey. That's basically their business. That's how they want to make money. And what this venture capital tends to do is, when the team goes up in value in the future, they will sell that stake to another company. That's typically how they operate their business. So they will buy you when you're down and out, when you're in trouble, like a pandemic, for instance, during a pandemic, and then they will sell it in a 5-10 years time when you're out of the woods and potentially having lobbied for a few more logos to be on the jersey, which means that your income has gone up, your revenues has gone up, and then they can sell that at a much higher price than another company. And yeah, so this is really like a bad timing for New Zealand Rugby. They desperately need the money, and the venture capital sharks basically smells blood and they're coming for it. So this is I 100% disagree with Fitzpatrick saying that, oh, you're not going to get a better price. You're definitely going to get a better price once the pandemic's over. It's just, you're literally selling at the lowest point possible in the team. And also he cites like grassroots hugely struggling. Yeah, oh well, $450 million is a lot of money. You're not going to be able to that's way too much to just help out grassroots. It's like, if you're putting $1 billion in the grassroots, you only have like like so many people that can play rugby. You're not gonna, even if you start paying all the kids playing rugby to play rugby, you're still not gonna be able to improve grassroots like significantly. Like it's not gonna trickle up significantly into the All Blacks. That's basically what I'm saying. Like, it's not something that you can just pile more money and then you're gonna get more All Blacks out of it, or like better All Blacks team out of it. Like, there's just only so many talents you can get out of your kids. Like, you can't just make a kid grow bigger just giving them more money. Like, just make the kid grow taller and you can't just get a kid to grow talent just by giving them money. Like, there's only so much you can invest they can get a return out of. So like, that's just, and then also they were talking about, turning the money, like investing it somehow and turning it into $1 billion, like turning it into more money. Again, based on your annual report, the investments that you're doing, whatever it is, whatever it is, you guys are rugby players or like managing a rugby team, whatever it is you're investing in, you are not really doing so well in your investments. So yeah, I mean, if I give you 400, if you show me your income statement and you're like, hey, Wildcard, give us 450 million, we'll invest it for you, I'll be like, yeah, your past investments doesn't seem to be very good. You're good at running the rugby team, but as a financial institution, how the hell you're managing your money, it's not looking great. So to say that you can just take the money and invest that into and turn that into more money, your records doesn't really show that's gonna be the case. So I strongly against. I really don't agree with what these guys are talking about. And from the players' perspective, I also agree with this as well. The black jersey is like heritage. It's like selling Uluru. If you ask Australia to sell a percentage of Uluru, or ask like America to sell a percentage of the Grand Canyon, or sell maybe like sell like a percentage of, like a national church or something. Like, it just doesn't feel right. Like, you could, it doesn't feel right, and it's really, and most of all, everything aside, this is a really bad timing for New Zealand, and the venture capital sharks can smell it, can smell your desperation, and they really want to come for your money. And I think they avoided a bad decision. I agree. The Players Association came in, blocking the deal. For culture perspective, I agree. They shouldn't have done it. And from a financial perspective, it's not smart to do it either. But how do New Zealand Rugby get out of this rut, basically? So the 30-minute loss last year, it's going to be a lot less this year. It's no doubt they're going to be still losing money. It's not going to be 30 million. So they're not going to run out of money in like 1 or 2 years. Like, as you can, in 2 years. Like this one saying they're going to go bankrupt in 2 years. They're not going to lose 30 million again this year. Hopefully the government gets the stuff together, and they're probably going to lose maybe 10, 15 million. They're still going to be losing money, but it's not going to be nearly as much. And then hopefully they will be able to get a sponsorship to come in at 300 million. In a pandemic might be a bit difficult, but they probably can get 150 million, maybe 200 million for over 5 years. And that will also stem the bleeding quite a bit. But they really need this sponsorship to come out good. If they can get 300, that'll definitely push it back into the green for New Zealand. But if they can get 200, 250, maybe just more than, so they definitely need this deal to be a good deal. So they really need to focus on trying to get a big sponsorship coming in. And with that combined, they should be back into the green quite easily with that. And also, manage your money a bit better, I guess. So in conclusion, I don't think New Zealand Rugby is in huge trouble. Everybody is struggling right now with the pandemic. And also, if they get a good deal done on the jersey logo, They definitely don't need to sell the ownership by any means, especially to venture sharks. And also, I do think that, you know, in the near future, the All Blacks are looking pretty good. They're not going to be, they're not going to be, they're doing a lot of the right things to grow their talents. And I think it's just a short-term issue. They will be able to iron out they'll be able to iron it out and get over it, the hump. And they'll be fine. Once the pandemic's over, there's not going to be too much of an issue for New Zealand Rugby. And I guess until they lose another World Cup, New Zealand Rugby is it's going to be just fine. Anyway, thanks for watching this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.